They say all good things must come to an end. And the next series of Salvage Hunters, which we shot last year and airs in the autumn, is my last. So everyone, take care. Thank you so much.
They say that all good things must come to an end. For Drew Pritchard, that moment arrived with the announcement that the next series of Salvage Hunters, shot the year before with the airs in the autumn, would be his last. The words, though simple, carried a weight of finality. Drew, who had become a household name through his love of antiques and his knack for spotting hidden treasures, was bidding farewell to the series that had made him a fan favorite. For years, Drew had traveled the length and breadth of the UK, hunting for forgotten relics, restoring them, and selling them at his base in Conwy. Viewers watched him turn old, discarded objects into valuable finds while he shared his deep passion for the world of antiques. But as time went on, things began to shift. What had been a steady rhythm of filming and traveling, a lifestyle that Drew had grown to love, eventually took its toll.
£750.
How about 300?
Well, to replace it, if you were lucky, would be 750 because it's quite a good one.
It is quite a good one. I can't pay 750 because there's no money left in it. I've got to see a profit.
Drew's decision to step away came with the kind of clarity that only time could offer. As he shared his decision in 2024, he spoke not with regret, but with peace. He had spent years building something incredible, and now it was time for the next chapter. Fans, understandably, were left grappling with the change. Drew had been the face of Salvage Hunters for over 240 episodes. He'd traveled far and wide in search of the rarest antiques, bringing viewers along on every twist and turn. But as Drew took a step back, the question remained: what had led to this moment? The show's format was straightforward yet deeply engaging. Each episode followed Drew as he scoured antique shops, fairs, warehouses, and even old country homes for hidden gems. What he found, he bought, restored, and resold, making a living off his keen eye for valuable pieces. What made Salvage Hunters so compelling was its authenticity. There was no drama staged for the cameras, no scripted reactions. Drew's deals were real, his restorations genuine, and for that, viewers adored him. Alistair Dryburgh, one of Drew's co-stars, once explained why Salvage Hunters had been so effective. He described how filming could stretch for hours just to capture a few minutes of genuine television. But it worked because everything was real. The crew paid for their items with their own money, took the same risks as any professional dealer, and put in the work required to truly showcase the antique trade. It was this commitment to authenticity that Drew always valued, and that the show's fans, many of whom had never stepped foot in an antique shop, could feel. When Drew made his announcement in 2024, saying that the 20th series of Salvage Hunters would be his last, it wasn't a decision he made lightly. He'd been thinking about it for some time. He spoke about the weight of the constant workload, the filming, the travel, the demands on his time, all of which had started to wear on him. Still, it was clear that this was a decision made with care, not haste. Drew felt proud of what Salvage Hunters had accomplished. It had run its course, and now the series had a strong team ready to carry it forward without him. As the final episode of Drew's last season loomed, fans reflected on the impact the show had had. Few series could boast such longevity while remaining true to their original concept. Salvage Hunters had always been about authenticity, and Drew had made the often mundane world of antiques feel fascinating, even to those who had never considered stepping inside an antique shop. He had made old objects come to life, each piece telling a story, and in a way, Drew had shared that story with the world. Yet, as Drew left the show, he left it in capable hands. He made sure to reassure fans that the series would continue with trusted dealers like Alistair Dryburgh and Vicky Knott. There would even be a new face introduced in the coming seasons. Drew asked his audience to keep an open mind, to support the new team, just as they had supported him when he first started. Drew's journey, however, was not just about the show. For over 2 decades, he had been married to his wife, Rebecca, whose shared passion for antiques had been the foundation of their relationship. Their love story had begun in the early 90s when Rebecca worked in the fashion industry and Drew was starting to build his antiques business. The two met when Rebecca visited Drew's shop, and what began as a casual encounter turned into a deep connection. Their shared vision for restoring old pieces blossomed into a friendship that soon turned into romance. They married, and together they built a family and a business. On screen, they appeared to be a perfect couple. a duo that combined their personal and professional lives seamlessly. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. In 2017, Drew's life was rocked by a scandal. It was reported that Drew had become involved with Amanda Thomas, a woman he met through his son. What started as friendly exchanges between parents eventually grew into something more. As with all things hidden, the truth eventually came to light. Amanda's husband, Janice Bryn Thomas, discovered the affair after noticing Drew's name repeatedly showing up on his wife's phone. The confrontation between Janice and Amanda led to a heated series of events, with Drew insulting Janice in a text message. Amanda showed Janice the text, which only escalated matters. Janice confronted Drew in a pub where things turned physical. Drew, despite being the victim of the altercation, saw his reputation take a hit. The incident made headlines and police were involved. For Drew, the public fallout from the confrontation hurt far more than the physical punches. The gossip, the whispers, the headlines, they all took their toll. In the aftermath of the incident, Rebecca filed for divorce. Despite the painful end to their marriage, Drew and Rebecca continued to work together professionally. They appeared on Salvage Hunters together, though their personal lives were no longer intertwined. As Rebecca stepped away from the show after season 18, she focused on new challenges, leaving the door open for the next generation to take her place. In the wake of the divorce, the financial settlement caught the public's attention. The division of assets valued at $8 million was handled with fairness. Their family home, an 18th century chapel Drew had bought in 1995, was one of the most valuable items in the settlement. The chapel was more than just a home. It was a symbol of Drew's passion for restoration. The property, once owned by Mick Jagger, had been carefully restored by Drew over the years. It was a reflection of everything he and Rebecca had built together. But Drew's life had a new chapter to begin. He had to navigate a different kind of challenge. One of his most ambitious projects was a Georgian townhouse in Bath, which he bought for $1.5 million, with the goal of restoring it to its former glory. However, the renovation proved more difficult than expected. Rising material costs, inflation, and unforeseen complications meant the project spiraled out of control. What began as a dream became a financial strain. To fund the restoration, Drew was forced to sell much of his personal antique collection, a decision that weighed heavily on him. In the end, he sold over 600 items at auction, including rare pieces such as a fossilized Irish elk skull and a Steamboat Willie model. While some sales were successful, others failed to meet the reserve price. Drew, who had spent decades curating his collection, found himself in the difficult position of parting with items that carried deep personal meaning. But in the face of the mounting bills, it was the only option. Despite his best efforts, the renovation of the Georgian townhouse was halted. Drew moved into the top 2 floors, leaving the rest of the house unfinished. The decision to stop the renovation was not an easy one for Drew. He had always prided himself on bringing old buildings back to life, and to leave a project unfinished went against his very nature. But he chose to view it as a temporary setback, not a failure. The unfinished house stood as a testament to his resilience, his love for his craft, and his ability to adapt to life's unexpected turns. Drew had also made a name for himself with his famous antique store in Conwy. The shop, which had become a destination for antique lovers and tourists alike, was a significant part of his success. But in May 2022, Drew shocked fans once again by announcing that the store would be closing. The decision came without much explanation, other than it was time for him to move on. For many, the closure marked the end of an era. The store had been more than just a business. It had become a piece of Conwy's identity. Although Drew shifted his focus to online sales, the closure of the store was a significant turning point in his career. It was not just the end of a business venture, but the loss of something that had brought life to Conwy and inspired countless people to appreciate the art of restoration. But through it all, Drew remained grounded in his love for antiques. He continued to search for and restore valuable pieces, staying true to the work that had brought him success. Drew's next steps remain unclear, but one thing is certain. Whether in front of the camera or behind the scenes, his passion for antiques will always be a part of who he is. As for the world of salvage hunters, it will continue to carry the legacy of Drew Pritchard, a man who made old treasures come alive again.